Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. How are you guys doing? Anyways, in this video we're going to go over iOS 14, 14.0.1, and as well as the iPad OS versions of those as well. I'm so excited. Let's get into it. Once you're done updating, you'll get this splash screen showing you that your software update's been completed, asking you if you want to do iPhone analytics, and if you want to turn on display zoom. For display zoom, you require an iPhone Plus, Max, or X, XS, or 11 phones. It is not compatible with the smaller phones. For example, the iPhone SE or iPhone 6s. So for those of you who came here for iOS 14.0.1, or if you've already updated to iOS 14, let me just start with that first. It's pretty much just a bug fix, and let's see what it actually does. So I'll put it up on the screen for you guys to read, but this pretty much fixes an issue that could cause the default browser and mail settings to reset if you restart your iPhone, iPad, or iPod Touch. So pretty much in iOS 14, there's a new feature where you can set the default browser or mail app. So it doesn't have to be Safari or the default Apple Mail app. And they're saying if you restart your device, it'll actually revert back to Safari and the Apple Mail app if you've set something else. There's also an issue with iPhone 7 and 7 Plus, which is actually the phone that I have, and they're saying that it could prevent camera previews from displaying. I personally haven't had this issue, but I'm sure other people have. This also fixes an issue that could prevent your iPhone from connecting to certain Wi-Fi networks. It fixes an issue that could prevent sending emails with some mail providers. So that means sending it with Gmail or Yahoo. Those are mail providers. And the last issue that they have stated in this release log is it addresses an issue that could prevent images from appearing in the news widget. So if you have one of those news widgets on your home screen or in the side widget area, it may not display the pictures in the news widget. So those are the new features in iOS 14.0.1. Now let's see what's new with the actual iOS 14 update, all the new features. Before we get on with the features, I just want to let you know that you should update your apps by going to the App Store, tapping on your profile picture, and updating your apps for the best experience on iOS 14. For example, there's apps like Animal Crossing from Nintendo or just other apps in general that previously didn't support iOS 14, and you need to update those apps if you want to use them, or else they'll just crash or won't work properly. So just keep that in mind before you update, or even after you update. Alright folks, let's get into it. The features of iOS 14. If you guys can tell, comparing to my old videos, the microphone quality actually sounds much better after updating to iOS 14. But of course, since you are the viewer, please let me know in the comment section if it actually does sound better in YouTube. The first feature on the list is widgets. Many of you know about this. It's probably the biggest change to the look and feel of iOS since iOS 7. So pretty much those old widgets they used to use in Today View that probably nobody really ever used because you have to swipe over to see them. Now you can bring them over to the home screen. They're much more interactive. Like you can swipe down on them in something called the smart stacks. You can actually have a bunch of widgets on top of each other, and they will periodically change throughout the day to show you the most relevant information to you. And it just looks really nice to have widgets on your screen. It's very informative as well, depending on the widgets that you put. There's even one for VPNs that I actually have, where it'll actually show you if you're connected or disconnected from a VPN. There's others that are coming as well in the future for apps. It's just the developers need to update their apps for widgets. So far, it's mainly just Apple stuff, like Apple weather reminders, stuff like that. And not to say that's a bad thing. It's a very good thing that I've tested all three sizes out. So there's small, medium, and large. And some apps may not support all three. Maybe it's 2 or maybe even 1. But either way, you get to choose whichever one you want, and it just makes it more customizable. The next one will be pretty handy for a lot of you iPhone users out there. So this feature is called App Library. It's pretty much at the end of your home screen, so you just have to keep on swiping towards the right. and then you'll end up in the app library, and it creates folders for you in each app. You can't control them, but it just takes whatever type they are. So for example, if you have Facebook, Instagram, they'll go into the social folder. If you have Netflix and Disney Plus, they'll go into entertainment, and so on and so on. It'll just do it on its own. iOS will do it on its own. And yeah, this is pretty much Apple just being like, hey, if you got a lot of widgets on your home screen, here's a way to declutter your home screen. So this will help a lot of people in decluttering their home screen. It'll just make it look much cleaner if you don't want to see all those widgets. However, I personally don't find myself using it all that often. Another thing they've added to Apple Library is this new search area. So it's kind of like a list of all your apps alphabetically organized, and you can search for them as well. So it's kind of similar to what you would see on an Apple Watch. It's just that now it has search on iPhone. And unfortunately, they don't have this feature on iPad OS, so keep that in mind. The next new feature is the new Call and Siri UI. So this is what it looks like. You can also have the big one if you want, if you don't like this tinier one. And there's also a new Siri one, both of which are things that I like. Next we have Picture-in-Picture, which allows you to watch videos on your home screen or in apps, like other apps. So you don't have to stay in that videos app anymore, you can do other things while you're watching a video. This also applies to FaceTime now. Also got a new search, and specifically in iPad OS. It looks much different and it's much better now. Message is now becoming much better. It's almost like WhatsApp now, so you can reply to specific people, you can also mention people, and you can pin conversations to the top of iMessage. So iMessage is getting much better. There are also new styles and stickers for Animoji and Memoji in the Messages app. In Maps, there are now better directions for EV electric vehicles and cycles. So for bicycles, you can now see where there's more elevation in your route, and you can also choose routes that have less elevation and a much smoother ride for you. And there's also a new mode for EV electric vehicles where it'll tell you where to plug in and where there are plug-in stations on your route. So that's pretty cool. And while you're driving, you can now see where there are speed cameras too. Other than that, there'll probably just be more refinements to the Maps app, and the maps will look much better. There's also guides now, so you can see specific guides for certain cities. For example, in New York or famous cities like that, you can see famous landmarks and things like that in guides, so that's pretty cool. There's now a new competitor against Google Translate, and now it's just simply called Translate by Apple. So there's going to be a new translator app in Apple iPhones, iPads, iPod Touches, and iOS 14. And it does exactly what it says, translator. Sure, it doesn't have as many languages, but they'll update that soon. And there's also a pretty cool conversation view, so you can actually tilt your phone sideways, and you can actually speak with somebody else, and it'll translate for you, like each time that you talk, or each one of you talks. And I'll translate it for you, so that's pretty cool. And of course, this also has integration with Safari, so if you're viewing a website that's not in your language, you can translate that too. The Translate app currently supports 11 languages, which include English, US and UK, Spanish, Chinese, Mandarin simplified, Japanese, Korean, Russian, German, French, Italian, Portuguese, and Arabic. So now, not only does Siri have a new UI, but it also has 20 times more facts than it did just 3 years ago. It also has better web browsing skills, so it can get better information from you for you from the internet. You can also send audio messages now. So previously, if you wanted to send a message with your voice, you'd have to say the message, and it would try to think what you were saying and then turn it into text. But now you can just do an audio message so they can actually hear what you're saying instead of having to read it. You can also ask for directions, like cycling directions. You can share ETAs, or estimated travel time of arrival. And there's of course the translation in Siri as well. For number 10, we have the Home app. The Home app now suggests automations to you. There's new Home status, which gives you a visual status of all the different types of devices that you have at your home, and they can be quickly controlled, which I really do like. There's also the home controls and control centers. You can now add them to your control center, and it gives you easier access. There's also adaptive lighting for light bulbs, so they change the color throughout the day, which is pretty cool. So for example, you can have a pretty nice and bright color in the daytime and something like a little bit of a darker or more subtle color in the nighttime. There's also face recognition for video cameras and doorbells, and there are activity zones for video cameras and doorbells as well. So if it detects something in that activity zone, it'll let you know. For Safari, we get web page translation, of course, as I mentioned before, a new privacy report. So this is really showing Apple pushing it to the limit here with privacy. They're adding more and more features every year, and I applaud them for that, for adding lots of privacy reports and stuff like that, lots of privacy stuff. But this privacy report shows you how many trackers there are on that website that you're viewing, and how many are being blocked by Safari, and just other privacy stuff in that report as well. There's also password monitoring, so Safari securely monitors your saved passwords and keeps an eye out for passwords that may have been involved in a data breach. But don't worry, because Apple doesn't have access to this, so don't worry about that. And performance, I mean, this is really where Safari leads. It's one of the fastest browsers out there, and they're claiming to deliver 2 times faster JavaScript than Chrome on Android, and just other browsers in general don't really catch up to Safari. So it's great to see them keeping it faster and also using up less performance. Next up, we've got car keys. So you can unlock your car by simply tapping your phone to the NFC reader on your car's door handle. It could be different on other car manufacturers, vehicles, but so far on BMWs, it seems to be on the door handle. And you can even start up your car by putting the phone inside of the car in a specific area where there's NFC readers, and it'll detect your iPhone, and then you can just drive away. You can also share your keys with other people via iMessage and add them to the wallet app. And you can even have different types of key types. So maybe you can have full access for one person, and then maybe something that's a little bit less, like a teen. If you have like a teen driver or a new driver, you can add limits to that, affecting the acceleration, the top speed, even the stereo volume. So that's pretty cool. You can also remove key access from people, and there's also this feature called Power Reserve, which you've actually seen previously with transit passes and stuff like that. So what this does is pretty much means that even if your iPhone's battery runs low, you'll be able to unlock your car for up to 5 hours after it dies. So that's pretty cool. So even if your phone's battery dies and you don't have your car keys with you, you can still use your iPhone. So yeah, this is really paving the way for the future of car keys being on your iPhone, and we should see this soon on other car manufacturers. So far only BMW has it, but we'll see it soon in the future for other people to support it. Speaking of cars, let's get into CarPlay. CarPlay now supports third-party parking, EV charging or electric vehicle charging, and quick food ordering apps. You can order food in your car. There's also an additional new feature of customization, which is the wallpaper. So you can now add wallpapers to CarPlay to make it look nicer. There's also a new status bar. So if you have a portrait screen on your car, it'll be a horizontal status bar instead of the one that we currently have. You can also share your estimated time of arrival, or ETA, with Siri, and you can share it with your friends or family. You can also send audio messages, as I said before. And this is really great for CarPlay. I can't wait to see all the integration with CarKey and CarPlay coming together. It's going to be really great. And they'll just keep on making the Apple ecosystem even more stronger. Ooh la la. I know that's what you're going to say when you hear about all the new features in this topic. Yes, number 14 for AirPods. The first feature is spatial audio. This comes to AirPods Pro, and it's pretty much just bringing the movie theater or home theater experience to you while wearing your earbuds. So if you're watching a movie, TV show, or playing games, um, depending on what's going on your screen, it will be playing the noise or sound from that specific area. So above you, maybe in a certain area in the space that you're in. So right, left, just specific areas in your space. And what's cool about this is even if you move your head or move your iPad or iPhone or iPod Touch, nothing is going to happen. It's going to stay fixed. The sound's going to stay fixed. So it's actually going to sound like it's coming from a source, and it's going to sound really realistic. So that's pretty cool. And during these times, since we can't go to movie theaters, or most people don't want to because of the risks, you know this may very well be a pretty good alternative. If you have an Apple TV or something like that, you can hook it up to your TV and watch movies with your AirPods Pro, and it'll be just like having a home theater, except it's all through your earbuds. So pretty cool. This feature only works with AirPods Pro, so keep that in mind. The next feature is headphone accommodations. Headphone accommodations is pretty much just boosting the low noises or sounds coming out of your AirPods or earpods even, and this will pretty much stop you from putting too much volume on your AirPods or earpods, and so it'll give you a better experience when listening. So this works with AirPods Pro, AirPods 2nd generation, earpods, and select Beats headphones as well. The next feature is automatic device switching. So let's say that you're listening to music on your iPad, and then a phone call comes in on your iPhone, and your AirPods are still in your ears. That audio will automatically transfer to your AirPods. And then once you finish with that phone call, let's say that you get a video call on your Mac. Well, your AirPods will automatically switch to that Mac. So it's pretty cool what they're doing here, once again with the Apple ecosystem. As long as you've paired it to the devices and they're all at the same iCloud account, it should work. So it's pretty cool. And the next thing is, if you have AirPods, you can relate to this. This battery notifications is something that we didn't have before. So every time that your AirPods were about to run out of battery, you'd hear that dreaded AirPods dying sound, this is gonna prevent you from actually hearing that now often. So this will give you a notification of when you need to charge your AirPods. So for example, when they reach 10% or right before they're about to die, they'll tell you when you need to charge them. So have you ever been in that situation where, let's say you've been in a store, or maybe you're trying to take a public bike somewhere, or you're just using something at a retail place, and you require an app to use use the service that they're offering, and maybe you don't have enough storage to do that, or maybe you just don't want to download a full app just for one place, and maybe even if you're only doing it once. Well, App Clips is here to save the day. App Clips are pretty much, it's in the name. App Clips are tiny little pieces of apps that have only the main things that you would ever need out of them for those things. So for example, if you're taking out a city bike and they require an app, and if they support App Clips, you can actually just tap your phone on the NFC reader or scan the QR code, and you'll see in the picture above, it will get a little pop-up, and then you tap open, and then you can just use that service without even having to install an app. So this is really great for all you people out there that maybe don't have enough storage, or just don't want to download an extra app for one service that they rarely ever use. So great job, Apple. If you've already installed iOS 14 or iPadOS 14, you may have noticed that when using it, you've seen a little tiny orange or green dot on the top of your screen. Well, this is just one of the many new privacy features built into iOS and iPadOS 14. So let me tell you what this means. If you see an orange dot, that means that it's using your microphone. Some app is using your microphone. If you see a green dot, it's kind of like what you see on your traditional computer. A green dot means that an app is using your camera. If you see this while you're not using an app, or you are not just using the camera or microphone in general, what you want to do is swipe to your control center. Depending on which device you have, it will be different, but go to your control center and see which app is using it. And if it's an app that's not supposed to be using it at that time, you know something is up. It could be spying on you, or it could just be a bug, but either way, it's good to know this information. And it's great that, you know, Apple is showing you all this information so that, you know, no apps are stalking you or anything like that. The other privacy features include a new section on the App Store of privacy. So, you know, about like tracking and data used to collect you and stuff like that. Really not things about Apple, mainly about the developer and stuff like that. You can turn off app tracking, so that means that, you know, apps can track you. Different apps can track you and your information and stuff like that. So you can turn that off. This setting is probably gonna be one of the most helpful. Let's say you're sharing your location for something like Google Maps, or just on a website or something, or even for an app if you want to grant access to the location on an app, but then you also don't want to give it your exact location. Well, now you don't have to. You can just give it the approximate location instead of the precise location. So if it's an app that maybe you don't trust that much, or if it's an app that doesn't require your precise location, you can just turn on that approximate location, and it won't know where you are actually. It will just know an approximation of where you are, not exactly where you are. So be careful with the settings though, because if you're turning on approximate for an app that requires the precise location, then you're probably gonna run into problems. Another thing that's pretty cool is when you're granting access to photos or videos on an app, you can actually choose which ones they can access. So you can select certain photos that you don't want them to access and certain ones that you do want them to access. So that's pretty cool. So when it says camera roll, it won't actually show you all of them if you don't want it to. It'll just only know the photos that you wanted to share. Other than that, there really isn't that much else, except for some few upgrades to sign in with Apple, but that's about it. I've also made a video regarding privacy on iOS and iPadOS devices, which you can find in the card above and in the description below, or by simply going to my channel and looking for it. I think you guys will enjoy it. The next feature is called Back Tap. So this is an accessibility feature, but you're more than welcome to use it. So you can pretty much back tap by double tapping or triple tapping on the back of your device, and it'll perform an action, which is pretty cool. So this is compatible with an iPhone 8 or later, and pretty much all you gotta do is just double tap or triple tap on the back. So you can choose, you know, a double tap makes it do a screenshot, or a triple tap makes it maybe put volume up or volume down, or just you can do whatever you want with it. I think this is going to be a really useful feature for all of you out there. Maybe if you don't want to take a screenshot with, you know, using both of your hands to press both of the buttons on both of the sides, then this could be a really simple feature. As it is, your hand is most likely on the back of the device, so just double tapping or triple tapping it won't be that much harder either. So this is a great feature. Next up is the camera. So there's some performance improvements, like you can shoot faster, you can take video faster. There's also now quick take video on iPhone XR and XS phones, so all of you out there, you guys now have quick take. So that's pretty much holding down the shutter button, and now that takes video instead of taking bursts. There's also quick toggles in video mode, so regardless of the device you're using now, when you're taking video, you'll notice that in the top left or right corner, I can't remember which one, but there'll be an option to change the resolution and the frame rate. So say maybe 4K 30 or 1080p 60, depending on the device you're using, and you can actually swipe up or down to adjust that while you're taking video, so you no longer have to go to settings to update that. Previously that was only available on newer phones like the iPhone 11, but now they've brought it to all the devices. There's also better night mode shots on the iPhone 11 and 11 Pro, and you can also mirror the photos now. So when you take selfies, you can actually mirror them now, and there are also improvements to QR code reading as well. Next up, let's talk about FaceTime, and there's one feature that you'll be pretty surprised about. So first is picture-in-picture, as I mentioned before, but this is the feature that you've all been waiting for, or maybe you haven't even noticed this. FaceTime all this time didn't even support 720p resolution, but finally they're delivering on that. So now FaceTime will look even better at 1080p, even though all our iPhones are pretty much equipped with 4K cameras, but you know, whatever. At least they're adding 1080p, better than 720. Um, FaceTime can now detect if you're using sign language, and so if you're in a group FaceTime call, your bubble, as they like to call it, will be much more prominent now in the FaceTime group call. And you can also have the eye contact feature on. So since you're if you're using an iPad and your camera is on the side, which it is, unless they update that in the future iPads, but pretty much this will make it look like as if your eye is looking at, the actual camera instead of the screen. So that's pretty cool, but I don't know how natural it'll look. So let's see how it is. In terms of the Files app, the only real new feature of it is APFS encrypted drive support. So if your drive is APFS encrypted, you can just enter the password and access the device. However, there is one thing that has been done to the Files app and many other apps on the iPad, and that's a sidebar. So the sidebar is kind of gonna make it look like Mac OS. So, or even on a Windows PC, you know how there's that little sidebar on the side? Well, that's what it's gonna be like now. So you're gonna have a little sidebar on the side, and it's gonna look much better on the bigger iPad displays. This won't come to iPhone though, and I don't see why it ever would. But still, it's great to see it on iPad. And honestly, they're making the iPad look more like a Mac now. So I don't know what's going to happen in the future. Maybe they're going to bring it together one day. But yeah, for now, this is what we get. In terms of the Health app, we get a new customized sleep schedule. We also get wind down. So this will be turning on Do Not Disturb. It will make your lock screen darker, and it'll just make it a better experience on your phone for you to wind down and hopefully sleep easier and quicker. You also get sleep mode. So your iPhone turns on Do Not Disturb, the display dims down, wind down turns on, and it'll just enter sleep mode. There's also new health data apps. Not apps, types. So this will have different types like health records, mobility, symptoms, and ECG, and they're all available for you in the Health app. There's also a health checklist, so you can, view things like your health from the Apple Watch. So this will be getting most of its information from the Apple Watch if you have one. And it'll also show you about hearing health. So depending on how loud you're listening to your audio on a headphone or earbud or AirPods, it'll tell you about that. You can also add a little thing to your control center for that too. So it'll automatically be detecting if you're listening to it too loudly, and it'll tell you if you're being too loud with it so that you don't damage your hearing. And of course, the Health app is only available on the iPhone. In terms of the keyboard, we now get on-device dictation. So that means that you can speak and it'll type out what you want to say or search without you having to connect to Wi-Fi. And there's also a new emoji search. So I know I need this feature because I'm really slow with finding emojis. You can now search up for emoji and it'll bring up the emoji for you. In Apple Music, there's now a new feature for Listen Now. It's a brand new tab in the home of Apple Music. And it's a new area for playing and discovering your favorite music, artists, playlists, all in one. There's also now autoplay, so once you've reached the end of a song or playlist, autoplay finds similar songs to keep the music playing, similar to what Spotify had. There's also an improved search and library filtering, so you can filter artists, albums, playlists, and other items in your library as well. For 25, let's talk about notes. So now, of course, this app is compatible with the SideBar and iPads. There's a new enhanced actions menu, so you can lock, scan, or pin them all at your fingertips, even deleting them. There's a new pin section. You can have top hits in the search. And one of my favorite features is this is also porting over to the Photos app, but when you're doing markup, you can actually draw a shape with your Apple Pencil, or even your finger, and pause when you're done, and it'll create a perfect shape. So If you're drawing a circle or something, it'll make it like perfect, like perfectly circular, and it'll just be awesome. And I really like that feature. A new gesture lets you touch and hold the font button. It's kind of like a font button with two A's, and it'll allow you to do the boldface, italics, etc. And you can even do scanning as well. The scanning is much better right here. It previously was pretty good, but right here they made it better, so pretty cool. Photos app, there's now compatibility for the sidebar on iPads. There's also new filter and sort settings. You can sort and filter them with favorites, edited videos and photos, and it's just better navigation in general. It looks much better. Live photos will be much better. It'll be much more stabilized. There'll be captions and stuff like that you can add to photos. Memories will be better, and there'll be a better image picker as well. For number 27, we've got reminders. You can now assign reminders to people that you know, and you can share it to them. There's new reminders from the list screen, so you can create a new reminder on the iPhone from the list screen. You don't have to enter a specific list anymore. There's suggestions now. You can edit multiple reminders at once, and you can personalize lists with emojis as well. You can also have suggestions in mail, organize smart lists, and there's improved searching as well. There's also a new enhanced calendar picker. You can also now select a default browser or mail app. So for example, you can use Google Chrome now as the default, or Gmail as the default on your iOS device or iPadOS device. So every time somebody sends you a link or maybe an email address, it'll always go to that app instead of using Safari or the Apple Mail app. Voice Memos now has folders, favorites, and you can now enhance recording. So that's going to reduce background noise and other just background noises with a single tap. Other app now has severe weather alerts that come from the government, and they have information like tornadoes, winter storms, flash floods, and other stuff. This will be available in the US, Europe, Japan, Australia, and here in Canada. There's also significant shifts, so the weather widget will show you when it's going to be warm, cold, or if it's going to be more precipitation the next day. And there will be multi-day precipitation forecast, so it'll tell you about precipitation on other days as well. And to end things off, iOS 14 is compatible with the iPhone 11, 11 Pro, 11 Pro Max, iPhone XS, XS Max, XR, X, 8, 8 Plus, 7 and 7 Plus, 6S and 6S Plus, iPhone SE first and second generation, and the iPod Touch 7th generation. For iPad OS, we get pretty much all of the iPad Pros, and we also get the iPad 8th, 7th, 6th, and 5th generation, the iPad mini 4th and 5th generation, and the iPad Air 2nd generation and up. And that about wraps things up, guys, for iOS 14 and iPadOS 14. Let me know what you think about this video in the comments below. And if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, it really does mean a lot. And I really do hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will be posting more soon. However, I do want to tell you that I won't be posting as often as I used to because school has started, so I will be having my focus on that. So I will still be posting videos, just not as often. It'll mostly be about more important things than less important stuff. Anyway guys, thanks for watching Joel's Tech World. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.